Now, access to capital for business growth or just starting up remains elusive for many entrepreneurs. The picture for black entrepreneurs is even more bleak. Now, the Eastern Cape Development Corporation is now looking to build bridges between the entrepreneurs and the holders of venture capital and equity funding. The ECDC has brought together a host of role players in this domain to bring the backers and those with the ideas together with the Black Equity Financing Symposium in East London. Abongile Jantjies is there for us, so let's cross over to him to find out exactly what to expect and who might be in attendance. Abongile, good morning.
A very good morning to Sakina and to the viewers as well. Yes, indeed. The program will begin at 9 o'clock today, where they're expecting to dissect the issues affecting black entrepreneurs here in the country, particularly here in the province of the Eastern Cape, where it has a gloomy unemployment rate, and maybe the decisions taken here today could help in that regard. Well, we're expecting the Premier of the province to be in attendance, Oscar Mabuyane, alongside Small Business Development Minister Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams, to put in their input on what we can expect here today and turn the tide in this rural province. When you speak to the Premier of the province, Oscar Mabuyane, about the lack of development, particularly in the job sector, particularly in business development, he always says that this province is a victim of colonialism and apartheid. It was very neglected during the times of apartheid, and now the province is playing catch up. And the Eastern Cape Development Corporation says it also wants to lend a helping hand in turning this tide around, and they are saying that the decisions taken here today, they are hoping that they will be implemented with immediate effect. They are expecting analysts to ensure to give us an analysis of how the province looks like, in especially turning that tide around. With me, I do have the board chairperson of the Eastern Cape Development Corporation and former SAA CEO Uvuyani Jahana. A very good morning to you, sir. I understand you are the first speaker here today to open this ceremony. Kindly take us through what's expected.
Yeah, no, today the Eastern Cape Development Corporation, which is the agency that is charged with the responsibility of working with government to drive economic development and investment in the province, we have gathered today bright minds in South Africa, both in public sector and in private sector, to explore the issue of black empowerment from a point of view of equity contribution. Many people will know that to set up a business, the framework of investment as well as that of business is such that any business must have optimal capital structure on its balance sheet. The problem we have is that because black people come into democracy with no economic base, some of the challenges come to the fore where they are not able to bring to actually contribute the equity to set up the businesses. These are the challenges banks are facing. DFIs and ECDC is no difference. Now, we've brought the top brains in the country from both policy as well as private sector to explore this. How do we make sure that we enable black people to have access to equity funding to be able to actually set up businesses? There are many businesses that have been set up in South Africa in democracy. A lot of those businesses are not set up by black people in key sectors, whether it's telecommunication, financial services, healthcare, education, you name them. But we think that one of the barriers is the equity contribution. We have to explore what instruments can we put in place to lower the barrier to entry for black people to get into large-scale sustainable business investment. So that's what we are discussing today, and we've got the best of the minds in South Africa from both private and public sector and policymakers. And
coming to this issue of funding, many young entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs believe that some of them have given up, saying that you have to be politically connected to have received funding for certain projects, and some projects, some of their ideas get stolen by people who have connections in terms of funding. So how do we really scratch that out and ensure that our people get the fairness that they want in the business sector?
Absolutely. A part of the issue comes down to this issue about equity, because when you're going to ask for debt to start your business, there is a requirement to have an owner's equity, which is your own contribution. Now, if people don't have that contribution, you rely on banks, DFIs, to start to put some instruments. Now, we haven't seen scalable instruments of intervention that are standard, that don't rely on social capital. So only those who have got social capital, which means they have relationships where actual arrangements gets made to actually see it through, to say, well, the business plan doesn't quite add up, but we know so and so, let's actually make it work. So we want to go beyond that, to get opportunities and instruments that have no eyes, but actually look at the investment opportunity so that the entrepreneurs can hold on to their ideas without those ideas being taken by those who've got the financial muscle. How can we put together instruments that are neutral, have no eyes, they don't look at you black or white, social capital, no social capital, but they look at the business idea, and then the banks can leverage that. So I think government has to come to the party around investing in a fund of some sort that is going to help black people get access to equity funding. And this fund can work in the form of an endowment fund. It doesn't have to be a grant thing. It can actually be self-replenishing as businesses succeed. But you can't achieve transformation by just saying I've enacted policies and that's all I've done. There has to be a deliberate effort to put funds on the table to allow black ideas to be executed. We must back black ideas in order to transform the country. So I think that's what we hope today. Bright minds are going to tell us how to do this.
In the Eastern Cape, we have the scalable Youth Fund, which gets allocated a lot of money. We do have the NYDA also playing a helping hand, sort of playing a helping hand, but we are just missing the target because there are a lot of people who are sitting at home with these ideas, but nothing is happening.
I think it's an important point you are raising, and all those initiatives, they're all adding up. And I think ECDC is also doing its own part. I think the challenge is huge. Challenge to access to capital. There's no lack of ideas from young people. I meet young people who want to start small businesses, but we need to make sure that we've got the right construct within which we can actually assist them in a manner that ensures their business is sustainable. So more money needs to be put on the table to actually back young people into business. And the way we do it must not be complex. You must not need to have a PhD to access funding. If you've got a great idea, the institution must be able to help you build the business plan, validate it, and make sure that they can actually support you. Support you through the life cycle of your business so that we can make sure that you can actually pay back the money that the institution has given you. So I think all of these things are things that we're hoping today, the bright minds who are gathering today are going to help us find solutions. And hopefully those solutions, if they need policy to be set up, we hope that government will start a process of looking at policies around this particular issue. We need scalable intervention, not point solutions. And that's what we have a problem today. In financial services, largely it's point solution, not scalable interventions. We hope today we're going to land into scalable interventions.
You are the former CEO of the airline SAA. Would you say in the state that it is right now, would you say you left it in a better position or it's now better and things worsened during your term?
No, well, I knew you wouldn't. I wouldn't miss this particular question. I don't think it's a case of it being better now than before. I just think that it's where it is today. It's got a perfect opportunity because it's a business that has got no legacy. There's no legacy to transform. Everyone is in reset. Everyone has gone down. So it's almost like a startup. So when we were transforming SAA, we had to balance the interests of the people in SAA and the need to accelerate transformation. So when you do that, it's a lot more complex. So the speed at which you do things is a bit slower, but you needed everybody, every stakeholder who has an interest in SAA to come to the table and contribute. So today,
Mr. Jahana, thanks a lot for your time, sir. Our time is up, but all the best for today.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, Sakina, that was Vuyani Jahana, the board chairperson of the Eastern Cape Development Corporation. One may only hope that this is not just a mere talk shop and all the issues that are highlighted here today will be addressed and that implementation will see in turning this province around. Back to you in studio.
Indeed, Abongile, and of course, hopefully also we'll be able to follow up more keenly to see how all of this unfolds.